Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome. It's Jeff Ketchum, Chad Hastings, Orange Bloods Live here on a Friday going into a monster weekend. Do us a solid like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Just hit a bunch of buttons. Not the one that is the upside down gig 'em. Like, we don't want that one, but yeah, hit that. Don't hit. I'm not even going to say it. Hit a button or two, though. We do appreciate it. Jump into this next chat if you're watching this live and send us some super chats, all those kinds of things. We got so much to get into today. We're not going to waste any time because it's a monster weekend in recruiting for the Longhorns. One of those guys that is coming into town this weekend only just got finished winning the Elite 11 for the first time. A Texas Longhorn quarterback commitment has done that. So, yeah, we got to talk a little bit about that. There's some Joe Williams discussion to get into. Like, there's stuff that we're going to get into, but it does start with recruiting. It's unavoidable. And there's like a big picture discussion, Chad, of having about the way I think everybody watching this video should be interpreting what's happening in June. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, you do have to be able to say, let us tell you about all these badasses that are in town this weekend, because if Texas is going to get these guys, we'll point back to this weekend and say this will have been a critical moment for all of this to occur.
Yeah, there's a lot of big names, obviously, we can hit. But I think, in a way, I think you just said it, because there's this thing in recruiting where sometimes Pied Pipers matter. And if you can get a Pied Piper quarterback, that really matters. And we already knew Diabell was coming in, but I think we need to start there. You just said it. It's history that has just been made. No Longhorn. You said this to me earlier, and it just kind of stopped my day. I'm like, wait, did he say nobody? No Longhorn quarterback has ever won the MVP at the Elite 11 until
that was a long time.
I mean, that's a few guys, right? That's a few guys we could talk about. So that means Vince and Arch, and you go and Quinn and Colt, and you just go through the list. Hell, Peter Gardere. I don't think they had the Elite 11 back then, but anyway.
And I don't know if Pete would have got invited, but
I don't know if Pete. Hey, Pete, I didn't say that. That was 4-0. I believe in you. I believe.
Oh, hey,
you'd have been fine.
I'm just saying, Pete, that I was aware of, kind of came in as a little bit more under the radar guy than some of the other quarterbacks that he would have competed for back then.
That is fair. So, yeah,
because Shea Morin's was after Pete.
Yeah,
but. You know, it's not like Texas hasn't been landing the best quarterbacks in the country for a long time and varying degrees of success. But Diabell is the first to emerge from that camp as the MVP. And
so, yeah, give me your thoughts on Dia in terms of how surprised were you that he won the MVP? Not that he looked pretty good. You maybe thought you were going to get a good report, but like, how surprised were you that he won the MVP?
Not at all. Okay. I have him rated as a 5-star quarterback. I think that he's incredible. He's just so polished and smooth and slick. And I think that's one of the things that it would seem like, you know, I read a Bruce Feldman article on The Athletic earlier today, and those were the words used to describe him. And I think that, you know, you're talking about a guy with 6'3", 215. He's got all the physical traits, but he also has, you know, I think, a lot of the nuance of the position down. He's accurate. He throws the ball effortlessly. Unlike, quite honestly, Quinn Ewers, he's a guy whose mechanics are much better at this stage of the game. He is, again, very slick and polished. And it feels like he's a guy whose basement is like the second story of a 3-story house. It's a matter of how high does his ceiling go? He's going to be an excellent college quarterback. That's for me, is his floor. Is he a future first-round draft pick, which is what a 5-star ranking indicates? I mean, that's what we say when we think a guy's a 5. So no, I wasn't surprised that the guy that I ultimately think one day will be a 5-star performed at a camp at a level that had people coming out of it going, God damn, that guy looks like the best quarterback in the country. Yeah, like that's he is. And at worst, my expectations were, I guess there could be another guy or two that there can be multiple 5-star quarterbacks in a recruiting class. And it's possible that one of those guys could be a little bit better, but I didn't think we'd come out of this and the thought would be he's rated too highly. In fact, it kind of happened the way that I thought it would, which is, so Diabell ends up being the number one guy, and yet maybe the guy that is being talked about the most outside of Diabell coming out of that is Keyshawn Henderson, a kid literally that lives right down the road from me in Spring, Texas.
Going to U of H,
I've already decided, like, I'm definitely going to go see that kid this year. I don't care if
Yeah.
he's not going to Texas or not. And I rarely do that. Like, usually if I'm going to a high school game on a Friday night, it is absolutely dedicated to somebody that is playing for Texas.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time I didn't go to a game that it mattered for Texas, but I got to see this guy.
He's going to U of H, is that right?
Yeah, and I'd never thought that commitment would stick. They offered him at quarterback when everybody else was offering him as a wide receiver. And he was like, want to play quarterback? You guys believe in me. I'm committing to Houston. And then his stock blew up, and I was like, well, when the big dogs start barking, it won't be U of H.
Right.
Then it also occurred to me, they could literally give him all of their NIL revenue. They get all of that revenue sharing. They just give it all to him.
You imagine the pie chart, Henderson,
And you know what?
Sliver.
The reason why you bring up Diabell as like the very first of all the things we're talking about this weekend, right? He's committed. So all of the focus will be on the guys that are uncommitted coming in. And what did I tell you though when we had the conversation? It was like, you know what? Low key, all that mattered. I think Diabell is the guy that replaces Arch Manning. With all due respect to Trey Owens, with all due respect to KJ Lacey, for me, Diabell is the post Arch Manning future. And I've said that for a lot. I've been consistent in saying that since the day he committed.
Mm-hmm.
And this recruiting class, other than you want to stockpile talent, and we know that's really important. And, in order to win a national championship, you got to keep doing what Texas is doing in 7 to 10 super blue chips every year, every class, stack them up. But on some level, just like that 2023 recruiting class or 2024 recruiting class that Arch was in, it doesn't matter as long as Arch is in it. Just like the 2002 Texas Longhorns recruiting class was the number one recruiting class in the country. And yet, all that really, and trust me, I wrote a chapter in a book about the 2002 recruiting class, and that chapter doesn't get written if Vince Young's not in it. So if Diabell's the guy that I think he's going to be, then the only thing that really matters is that guy's coming on campus. Because everything else with Texas football recruiting-wise is going to take care of itself. They may not get a particular 5-star guy, but they'll get some 5-star guys. They may not get every super blue chip like a KJ Edwards, but they got the quarterback they need in this class. And I don't think you would have wanted to get a 5-star quarterback in last year's class because I wonder the KJ Lacey timeline's kind of tricky. You're asking that guy to stay for 3 seasons. His third season would be his first season to compete for the starting job if Arch would return in a year, right? If Arch is back in 2026, then KJ Lacey can't start until 2027. Same thing with Trey Owens. So one of the things I've always felt like is in college football today, if you're good enough that Texas thinks you're going to be a starter, you're going to have opportunities to be a starter somewhere else where you don't have to wait until your third season. And I didn't think Arch would do it either. And we kind of shook our head and went, wow, Arch is the anomaly. It's possible that every time Texas has a quarterback change, that there's an anomaly that doesn't happen everywhere else in college football. I would suggest Diabell is the most talented of the guys that they've recruited post-Arch. And he comes in, he redshirts next season, and he's ready for a starting quarterback battle with no wait time, and he's the most talented guy. It just, for me on paper, he's the guy. So we can move on, but I want to give Diabell his love because, like, this is not an insignificant thing. And if I tell you that this decade ends with Texas in 25, 26, 27, and 28 at a minimum have first-round quarterback level play from now basically through the end of the decade.
Yeah. Well, The other thing that we talk about sometimes,
there's nothing more important that we can talk about than that. That is
absolutely.
You win a national championship at some point during that stretch. If you just keep knocking on the door with a super talented roster and one of those guys, and those guys don't grow on trees, and Texas has a chance to stack them back to back in a way that few schools in the program can claim.
Yeah, and I definitely want you to talk about some more of the guys coming in. But what I start thinking about with Dia is those pass catchers that are coming in after doing that in the Elite 11. These kids pay attention to that stuff, Catch. So if I'm Caden Finley,
I don't think matters.
You don't think that part matters in terms of him talking to guys that might catch passes from him?
Not like it used to.
All right. Well, I won't finish my thought then.
Well, because I know where you're going.
Okay.
But I think in the NIL era, that where you're, because I don't know that Arch had a huge impact on Texas's wide receiver recruiting. It is not like we've heard receiver after receiver go, of course I'm going. When Texas got Chris Sims, that happened a lot. Mm-hmm. When Texas got Garrett Gilbert, that happened a lot. I can remember when Ross Appo, who ended up going to BYU, and isn't a guy that probably anybody would even remember, but I can remember when that guy took his unofficial visit to Texas for a spring practice, I think that year. And like, he kind of was, oh my God, that's Garrett Gilbert. And like, I'm a big time wide receiver and it's a chance to go play with that guy. And there wasn't a lot of that with Arch. And now that there's the finances involved, like his impact on the recruiting class will be somewhat limited because, you know, what we'll talk and mean more is if Texas is offering 1.5 million and another school is offering 2.
Gotcha.
Dia doesn't help. Dia doesn't pay mama's bills. And so I know what you're saying. And you know what? I'm not saying it won't impact a guy or two, but I don't think they're going to be able to go to the best wide receivers in the country and go, Arch, Dia, why would you go anywhere else? And the answer would be money.
Yeah. All right. So I want to get your thoughts on some of the other big names coming in. Before we do that, let's start thanking some of our great partners around here. And I'll just show you a piece of pie. How about that? At Hayes City Store, the bourbon chocolate pecan pie. They do it great stem to stern. And these are some of the best desserts that I have ever had. Also, incidentally, if you like key lime pie, I think it's the best piece of key lime pie I've ever had out in Driftwood. So maybe you have both. Maybe you say, bring me a piece of that pecan pie Chad was talking about and bring me this key lime pie. FM 150 in Driftwood. It's a great time. Make sure to get your reservation ahead of time because you're not going to be the first that heard about Hayes City Store, but you're definitely going to want to go back. Go have a great time. Tell Travis, Tamara, and the crew we said hello. Hayes City Store for the desserts and all kinds of other stuff. Catch, outside of Dia Bell, is there one name? Is there two? This is it's a stacked group coming in this weekend recruiting-wise. Is there one guy that if I could make it all perfect for Texas fans, and he comes in, he loves it, he gets swept up in it, and he says, dadgummit, I'm committing to Texas like Sunday while I'm going home. Is there one guy in this group where you'd say, that's the one you want?
I think there's 2.
Okay.
Maybe 3.
Okay.
Richard Wesley is an edge player out of Chatsworth, California. And look, Chatsworth is known for things other than football players, but that guy is so good that maybe Chatsworth gets re-identified inside the state of California as the home of Richard Wesley instead of the home of other things. And, you know, this was a guy that was committed to Oregon. He visited Austin back in March. And I think there is a real sense that guy's probably going to end up at Oregon, that they're probably the team to beat. NIL will be central in this. So this would probably be a recruitment that if Texas were to win it, it goes down late. Although the kids in California, and this is a really interesting point, the kids in California have always been able in California to operate on the NIL side of things more loosely than they were in the state of Texas. You know, in Texas, it's like you lose your eligibility and you got to wait until after you're in California, it's go time. So it's possible that if they feel like the situation with Richard Wesley is one that has to be done now, then they probably could. If you'll remember, Brandon Baker was pretty open talking about NIL and money. Yeah. You know why? Because he could.
Yeah.
Because he didn't have to worry about, oh, man, is somebody going to snitch on me to the California High School League, whatever they call it, the NIL here in the state of Texas?
He knew he was good. Yeah.
He knew he was good. And so given that we know the state laws in California allow for them to literally talk to Richard Wesley this weekend about NIL in ways that you can't in every single state, it might be a little different. But look, I think Alex Dunlap would probably point to Richard Wesley and say that's the guy. But I do think there are multiple guys, because we've talked about Tyler Atkinson, the linebacker out of Loganville, Georgia this week, and I love the guy. And I think it's funny that he's been training with Derek Johnson, because that's probably the guy that I think he reminds me of the most. Physically, body style of play. Derek Johnson components of that. And I can remember when Derek Johnson was a prospect, Derek Johnson came out the same year in high school as Cedric Benson, as Tommy Harris, as Quan Cosby, as Jonathan Scott.
Man, God help anybody who had to face those dudes in high school. Wow.
It was a loaded class, Chad.
Yeah.
And I had a hard time. Tommy Harris ended up being my number one pick for the number one player in the state that year.
Yeah, badass.
Hard to go wrong, right? I mean,
he's a badass. I mean, you cannot be forgiven for that one. I mean, you don't need to be asked for forgiveness on that one.
But I thought it's the only time in my entire career I've been pressured into making a choice with my rankings that I kind of felt like I was young and I went with what I thought was the popular sentiment. I didn't want to get called a homer. But deep down in my heart of hearts, I thought Derek Johnson was the best prospect in the state of Texas in 2000 or 2001, excuse me. And I ranked him second. And you're right. All these years later, nobody would poke me with a stick at ranking Harris 1 and Johnson 2. But I have famously been open about I have never forgiven myself that I wasn't true to, and I probably did it in 97 with Drew Brees as well. I mean, I still say that along with Vince Young, Drew Brees is the best high school quarterback I've ever seen. But I only had the guts to rank him as high as 10th in the state. I had the guts to say before he ever showed up at Purdue that he would be a 2-time finalist for the Heisman Award, which, by the way, boom, bitches! How about that? How about that for a prediction?
It's not bad.
You guys that haven't been around forever that are like, how did people pay attention to Jet? How did it start in the very beginning? Drew Brees kind of got me on the map a little bit. And but I only ranked Drew 10th, which the Tommy Harris, Derek Johnson situation is the last time it ever happened in my career. Literally, as soon as it happened, I was like, I immediately regret it. And as much as Tommy Harris was a great player in college at Oklahoma, he wasn't better than Derek Johnson. Derek Johnson is still the best linebacker I've ever covered in college. And, we could quibble with what a guy like that win or somebody like that. But Derek Johnson, to this day, in the last 25 years, is the player that people associate great defense with at the University of Texas. It's crazy how many good players they've had, great players, and it still goes back to 11. So anyway, I would say Atkinson goes up there with Wesley.
All right. You said
and
you had 3.
Low key, I really like Caden Protho, a tight end out of Georgia.
Okay.
And he's not the level of overall prospect that either of those other two guys are. But what have I told you? When you can find an elite level tight end prospect. Now, this guy's not from the state of Texas, so the data is going to be slightly different.
Right.
It doesn't change the fact that big time tight end prospects have incredibly high basements. They do, just like defensive ends. You find really good ones, and unless they get hurt, unless there's something else kind of going on, they usually pan out to at least some levels of success. And this guy's got some juice. And if you could get him, I think he's not as good of a tight end prospect as Jatavius Sanders. But I would say he's the second best that Texas would be able to land in the last 20 years. Like, he's that kind of talent. Like, if they could get him, you wouldn't quite say he's a 5-star, but he's knocking on the door of that. He might be a 5-star. Like, he's in that type of consideration. Those guys are so rare that positional value, right? This is one of those where defensive tackles, oftentimes you'll look at a guy and you'll go, well, I don't think he's as good as this other guy, but there are literally no other defensive tackles. If you think that the best defensive tackle in the state is like a mid 4-star, but there are no other defensive tackles in the low 4 stars or the high, you know what I mean? You're like, at some point you go, well, that guy may talent-wise only be this, but his value as a prospect is this. And I think that with Protho, like, he's rivals his number 36 prospect in the country, but I think his value is higher than that.
Yeah, I see him here as the number 2 tight end in the country, according to Rivals. That would be obviously a big deal. A lot of big visits coming in this weekend. If you want to throw a chat in, we will get to it. Super chats obviously go right to the top of the list. Also, a quick shout out to Hijack Poker. All across the state of Texas, they're playing Hijack Poker. Hell, they're probably playing right now. Catch may be in a tournament in a hand right now. Alex Dunlap may be involved right now. Jump on in there. See if KGB's there too. Hijackpoker.com. Put that app on any device you want. Shout out to Texas Card House for being our presenting sponsor each and every day. See them up there in the upper right along with the Specs Rabbit. Yeah, Texas Card House. They'll be sitting there each and every show for you. Catch, I like this chat, so I want to clean this off real quick, but I just want to get your quick reaction. For any Texas fan that's going into the weekend with this thought, Big Poke says Texas has to get hit in these recruits. If Vodney Cleveland doesn't pick Texas, someone will be on the hot seat. Unacceptable. Every other college is recruiting aggressively right now. It's a setup. It's a setup. I'll admit that it's a setup. Big Poke, thank you for getting this reaction.
We have a super chat from Jay Lee.
Okay. Would you like to move on to that?
I mean, I know we're going to do this. I don't want that as the setup.
Okay. Fair enough. Jay Lee, $2 super chat. Prothro versus Townsend. Who's better? That's a good question.
Protho by a smidge. I never thought Townsend was a 5-star, but I did think he was on the fringe of super. I had him I counted him as a super blue chip because he really has, sub 1100 meter, 11 second 100 meter speed at that position is unique. So his speed gave him an elite trait that made me put him in that category. But I think Protho's a legit possible 5-star, and I think he's a better player. I think he's a better player right now. I think he's more dynamic. But, I mean, you look at Townsend, and it's really like, man, that guy, if they can harness all of his raw physical ability, could be, sensational. So I think it's really close. But you paid $2 for an answer, and my answer would be Protho.
So, Catch, real quick, I'm going to keep asking this one until I can make it true somehow, because I want Prothro to be related to Tyrone Prothro, the receiver from back in the day, but I don't think that's true, is it? Do you know on that? Is that the same family?
No, just like I'm not related to Ash Ketchum. I don't think he's related to Tyrone Protho.
By the way, I'm going to mention this kind of stuff.
But I don't know that. I mean, they could be play cousins.
Let me ask about it. Could be. Who knows? Since you were talking about a tight end, let me quickly ask. There is a chance Texas fans could see Ronda Rousey on the sidelines coming up in the next few years because there's a young man named Keave Brown. It's Travis Brown's son, but because Ronda and Travis are together, fight fans, Ronda's his stepmom.
They're still together?
Yeah. Ronda's his stepmom. So
were they married?
Yeah.
I have not kept up with Ronda Rousey in a minute.
If I'm not mistaken, they are still together and they are still married. And Keave, I want you to tell me, I see him listed some places as an athlete. Jason Sukamel on the recruiting hour told me he's definitely looking to be a tight end. So like for you, outside of, the famous parent thing, like how good of a tight end prospect are we talking about here?
He's very good. And look, just like with the defensive ends, the things that you really want to look for. And the one thing I would say, with Protho, he is a little bit of a tight end tweener.
Okay.
Right? He's that was a Dan Buckner. We've seen some guys like that come through, where it's like, he's a big receiver. He's going to grow into an H-back. What is he, there's some real projection with Protho about he's kind of skinny now at 6'6", but you can imagine packing up.
For the record, I love those guys if you can scheme it right. If you scheme it right, I love them.
But this kid Brown is 6'6", 230 now.
Yeah.
And those are the physical profile. Just like with defensive ends, Chad, if you are a big-bodied athlete like this kid is, the odds of you becoming an NFL football player is just significantly higher than if you fall into that tweener category. So, it's impossible to not look and go 6'6", 230 in the database, and in real time, if those guys are to stand next to each other, they look different. One guy looks like a receiver right now, and the other guy you look at and go, oh, yeah, tight end for sure.
And for those of you that don't follow fighting, if you're wondering, Travis Brown was not a flyweight. You can hear the weight catch just throughout. Travis Brown was a heavyweight fighter, and his reflects that, right? Travis Brown did not fight at 135 for the record. He was a heavyweight.
What is his relation? That is his uncle?
No, Travis is his dad, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, Travis is his dad.
Travis is his dad. And it came out of nowhere. Jason was talking about it. He's like, oh, yeah, Ronda Rousey's his stepmom. And I went, Ronda Rousey's his stepmom, and Brown is spelled with an E at the end.
Now, look, we have notoriously joked that Jason is great with moms.
Oh, yeah?
That historically, moms just like Jason.
Okay.
They just do. Like, they'll talk to him. They'll give him information. They'll stay in touch. Jason has it. Jason's like a Jedi with moms.
Yeah.
Careful, Jason.
Yeah, right? Well, the thing I envision, Catch,
careful in every way.
In every way. You be careful.
She could mash your mouth, and he can definitely mash your mouth.
Here's what I imagine, Catches. They're handing out the field passes for an individual game. It's like, okay, let's make sure that these guys are taken care of. Make sure they're protected. What about this group? Do we need to make sure? No, those two, you're good. We don't need any extra security. They're going to be fine on the sidelines. But he is going to be coming in also this weekend. Keave Brown, an interesting name to maybe keep track of. If you guys want to throw some chats at us, you can. Let's see what else. What else jumps out? Catch.
You tell me.
You hit the big defense.
You can steer the ship a little bit today.
You hit the big defensive end with Wesley. I tell you what, let me ask this question first. And I do have one of these. I have a defensive player I want to ask you about. But real quick, the other commits that are coming in along with Diabell, Jermaine Bishop, Chris Stewart, the wide receiver, Nick Robertson, and Max Wright, offensive lineman. For you, are these guys all just lock it in, don't even worry about it, forget about it? Or is there a guy or two where you say, hey, pay attention to this visit because Texas needs to, sure it up?
Of the commitments?
Yes.
I mean, you'd probably say Chris Stewart just because he visited Tennessee last week. And he said he's telling us he'll have a final decision on Sunday night. I don't like. I think if that kid was going to go to Tennessee, he would have just canceled the Texas visit and gone to Tennessee. So
Right.
my expectation is he'll come in, have a badass visit, and then he'll come out of this visit and officially say, I'm locked in. I'm not taking any more visits. I'm a Texas Longhorn. I would be surprised if that doesn't happen.
Gotcha.
But other than that, like I think, Jermaine Bishop is a guy whose ranking is kind of all over the place.
Mhm.
There's a service that has him ranked as a 5-star. I personally think he's kind of mid 4-star. I don't know that I quite think he's a super blue chip, but I'm open to the idea. I'm not quite there yet. So there would be some that would be like, that guy's special. And I'm not going to argue too much with him. I just don't know that I agree, but I'm not going to stand on the table with my disagreement. But I think everybody else other than Bell is replaceable. Bishop at this point is the only one in that group that's rated as a super blue chip. Now, I think Max Wright is a fantastic prospect, and I don't think he's that far from that kind of status, although I have him ranked higher than probably just about anybody in the industry. But no, I don't. No, I think this recruiting class, the reason why people are panicking, Chad, a little bit, is this recruiting class really isn't anything to sniff at right now.
Mm-hmm.
They have their quarterback.
And for those that I know you always tell them not to, but for those that look at rankings, it's like in the 20s, right? It's like low 20s in the country, and that gets some fans to react.
Yeah, I mean, the expectation for Texas is to go back to back, number one.
Right.
And I think the floor is that the expectation is that it'll be top 3 in the country. And I think that's fair. I think this class will be top 3 in the country when it's all said and done. I kind of think the floor is probably top 5, but my expectation is that it would be 3. I think there's a good chance it's definitely in the top 3 when you consider all the schools in the SEC are going to take significant size classes this year. They're all like, they are. I've talked about Texas could take 35 this year. If the scholarship limit's at 105,
yeah,
there's a world out there where they could even take more if they wanted to, but I would think that they would want to save some for some walk-ons that they already have on campus. And in addition, I don't think they'd go full 105. All those guys would be on scholarship, but I don't think they would just max out on high school guys. You'd want to save some from the portal, that kind of thing. But, you look at the recruiting class right now, and I don't care about the team recruiting ranking. I don't. You've asked me as recent as this week, what has to happen in this class for it to be a success? Mm-hmm. The only thing I care about is get Felix Ojo. You've already got Diabell. Sign a total of 7 to 10 super blue chip prospects. I don't really care about anything else. Everything else you can address in the portal. Everything else you've got supported with all of the classes that you've stacked on top of each other, right? I mean, it really is one of these things where it's like, well, if they don't get a running back, a badass running back in this class, well, then they'll be super attractive to probably a 5-star level running back in the 2027 class, and you don't worry about it. They're recruiting at a level where the talent just keeps flowing in, and unlike with Tom Herman, sorry, my eye is itching. Unlike with Herman, by the way, this cracked me up.
I like the snack the like button. That's good. I'm sure they meant smack, but I do like the notion of snacking the like button.
Hey, whatever gets the people to push the button.
Yeah.
I just think that I don't personally view recruiting right now like they have to get this guy and they have to get that guy because of the way Sarkisian is recruited. Other than filling that Michael Fasusi hole size void in the program moving forward. And look, there's some people that are like, Nick Brooks is going to be the best thing ever. We have our left tackle of the future. Mm-hmm. I don't believe that. And I don't think the aggression and the money commitment that's going to be made to Felix Ojo. They've told that dude from the very beginning, you're our number one guy. And they didn't give a damn if Turntine or anybody else knew it. That kid said in like 18 different interviews, Texas told me I'm their most important prospect. I'm number one. And you know what didn't happen? Orange Bloods never got a phone call from a coach at Texas saying, hey, can
Right.
you hey, we've told that to somebody else. Can you massage that and let people know that if that had happened, that would have happened. That would have happened. It didn't happen. I'm telling you, every time we ever make a mistake, we get told about it. So if you ever want to know if Orange Bloods is lying, trust me, it does not, or is wrong, I guess I should say. Lying sounds so bad. But if we've ever been wrong, oh, the devil's come out to play. Not with that. And like the fact that, so that I think just tells you all these other dudes can go wherever the hell they want to. They got to get Felix Ojo. And then turn time would be great. Like that would be the equivalent of kind of a Kelvin Banks, DJ Campbell 1-2 punch. And what you would hope out of that is one of those guys, to be reasonable. You want one of those guys to be an All-American. You want it to be Ojo, but really it doesn't matter. You want one of those guys to be a first or second day draft pick. And then at worst, you want the other guy to be what DJ Campbell is, which I think we know now DJ Campbell's not probably going to be. He's not a first day pick. He was overrated. DJ Campbell's never been a first round level player, and he's undersized. You know what I mean? Like as we've seen it, it's funny. I wonder, why did we rank DJ Campbell? We thought DJ Campbell was going to play left tackle or right tackle. And it's like, no, he's a really good college guard, but not good enough that he went pro last year, and not so good that we all think he's an All-American going into this year, but he's been a really good serviceable player. He's going to play in the NFL. If you can get that out of a 1-2 punch, what they got out of Banks and Campbell, and no miss at all, and your third highest ranked guy in that 2022 class was Cam Williams, and then Neto. Neto is the one offensive lineman really in that program where you would say he's been a bust and that he hasn't lived up to a national top 100-ish kind of ranking. But there's a chance that he is a starter this year, very good chance. And maybe when this thing's all said and done, we'll look back at it and go, Jesus Christ, the math says they only should have probably hit on 2 of those guys. Are they going to hit on 4 or 5? And if they do, then it's like, for Kyle Flood. I mean, that is cheating the math in your favor in ways that win you national championships. That's how you do it. And for me, you want to get one locked, absolute guaranteed star, and you hope that Ojo is that. And then all these other offensive linemen that come in, really you need to hit on 1. You hit on 2 out of the entire group, and then it's supported every year with you hit on 1 or 2 in the next group, and hit on 1 or 2 in the next group, hit on 1 or 2 in the next group. And then you always have 5 or 6 hits in the program at all times. And that means your offensive line's pretty badass. That means when I say hits, NFL level guys. And again, Texas has been, and I would say on the offensive line though, Chad, offensive lines where they got to get better at recruiting. That is a group where they probably do need a couple of super blue chips at a minimum in this class. So there could be a conversation that Turntime is right up there at the top of the list of, after you get past Ojo and we talk about the 5-star guys, Turntime's right at the top of the list of guys that it would serve them really well to bring that guy into the program because they need prospects like that at the offensive line.
Vivek, I see your chat about A&M's recruiting. We'll get to that. Also hit some of the other names that are coming in this weekend. Let me also talk a little AV consultations as we just talk about football, get more and more excited about it. 71 days from when I'm speaking to you right now is Texas and Ohio State. And what's one of the great things about college football? It's the stuff behind me. It's the helmets. It's the uniforms. It's the show. It's the hill at Clemson. It's the big house at Michigan. You want to be able to sit back and watch and just get the chills in your house. And that's what AV consultations can do for you. Make sure you got that big badass screen. Make sure the speakers are set up right. Make sure when they dot the I at Ohio State and Texas is about to take the field and all that stuff happen, make sure that you got the sound right and the look of it that you want. And it's the place everybody wants to come. If that's your dream AV Consultations can make it come true. 255-8678 or go to avconsultations.com. They do a whole lot of other things as well. Security systems, indoor and outdoor lighting. They can do all kinds of great stuff for you. Check out avconsultations.com. Start to get a sense of what they do. Then call 255-8678 for AV Consultations. Tomorrow, Saturday, will be your 70-day warning for Texas and Ohio State. All right, Catch. So for those Texas fans that might be thinking what Vivek is thinking today, we hit this a little bit during the week, but just to get the sense of it, since the KJ Edwards thing happened with A&M, and then Atkinson, I believe is the last name of the guy that the 5-star they got yesterday, Vivek jumps in with the other reason it's unsettling is A&M is recruiting really well. We don't want them to get any momentum. That jumped out at me, Catch, just because of the way it was phrased. What would you tell a fan about that? Again, that's not a massive concern of, oh my God, the sky is falling. But it's that thing of you don't want the rival to feel like they're getting any momentum. What would you tell Vivek?
I just think that's unrealistic.
Okay.
I've never lived in a world where A&M couldn't recruit. I mean, that's not A&M's problem. Typically, they've had that problem, but that wasn't Jimbo Fisher's problem. As recent as last year, Texas A&M still had one of the top 5 high-end rosters in college football. They're in the top 10 right now. Do you remember where they were, Chad? In those rankings that I did,
I think when you re-racked it, they were 6 to 8, somewhere in there.
I think so. I think they're in a tie.
Something like that.
6 to 8 or something like that. But
yeah.
And A&M sucks right now. They're not good. They might be good. Elko thinks they're going to be good, but they were good.
Sucks might be a little strong. Sucks?
It's all relative.
Okay.
Did they finish in the top 25?
I do not believe that they did.
They sucked. And look, I'm okay with throwing that term on everybody outside the top 25. Screw them. They suck. Can't be. What does that mean? You can't be 8-5 or whatever the hell record it would take to get it. No, you suck. And especially if you have one of the top 10 rosters in college football. So
now, to be fair, Catch, I got to ask and represent. They did get one vote. They received one vote in the final rankings. Does that get them anything?
It got them one vote, which is one more than you and I got.
By the way, that's not me. I don't get an AP.
I'm just saying, how many votes did you get?
I got.
How many did they get?
One.
So as an institution, they got one more than you and I combined. Great.
Yeah, they did. They did. Hey,
congratulations.
Baby steps.
So by the way, this is one of these days where there's a rogue fly. I don't know how this happens.
I've seen it a couple times. Yeah.
Dogs, because we have a doggy door. The flies wait until the dogs go through the door and then they fly in kamikaze style, man. And then they somehow make their way all the way to my room, my office on the other side of the doggy door. And then I think they get paid money, like fly money. Whatever fly currency is amongst flies, I see it right now. It's a baby too. They get younger and younger, Chad. Now they're sending their children into the office.
You're not, so you're old. You're so old now. You're not just seeing the sons of guys you recruited getting recruited. Now you're seeing the sons of the flies
that I massacred. This one here. I get it. There must have been a mom or a dad that came into this house at one point and didn't make it out alive, and now it's here for its revenge fantasy. And it's probably going to end the way all of these end, which is he's going to fly over into my window, and then he's going to get stuck. He's going to bang against the window long enough and not be able to get out, and he's going to fall to the bottom of the windowsill and die. Sorry, pal. That is your future.
Vivek, thank you for the chat.
But I'm serious. A&M's going to have – A&M's always going to get recruits. The year that Texas signed Vince Young, A&M signed Reggie McNeil. The year that, Texas went after Rhett Bomar, A&M got Stephen McGee.
Yeah.
The year that Texas went out and got Quinn Ewers, essentially, A&M went out and got Connor Weidman. Like, they're going to get guys.
Let me ask it this way, though. If I'm a Texas fan, if the Aggies ended up with a higher ranked class than Texas, does it matter?
Well, yeah, but, it's one of these things I hate. Yes, I'm never real good at like yes, no's when there's more to it than that.
Mm-hmm.
If A&M ends up with the number one recruiting class in the country and they have 10 super blue chips in the rivals rankings, and Texas finishes third in the country and they have 9,
mm-hmm.
That's a wash. And then what you'll look at is you'll say, okay, well, A&M, now you got to do it 3 years in a row at that level to be matching what Texas is doing. Right. And if in 2027 and 2028, they can lift those numbers back up so that they're consistently producing at that levels, then you'll probably start saying some of the same things that we said about when Jimbo was doing it, which was, man, when you recruit like that, sometimes you can just accidentally win and make it to the playoffs. You can be LSU with an ogre for a head coach, but if Joe Burrow is surrounded by first rounders all over the place, then even that guy, Cookie Monster won a national championship, Chad, and there are so many really incredible coaches that haven't come close. And it really is the most revealing thing I can say about if you have enough talent, anything is possible. And so A&M, for me, would need to look at this type of recruiting class that they're talking about being able to put together. Cool. It won't mean anything, just like that 2022 class really didn't mean anything unless, A, you can keep it together, duh, and then B, you have to support it in following classes with the same level of recruiting. And then by the time we get to 2028, A&M would, if they can do it, they'll be in the same breath as Texas and Georgia and Ohio State. But Texas didn't get into this conversation with one recruiting class. It has taken
right.
It took until this most recent recruiting class, and quite frankly, for those other schools to have a massive washout at the same time of NFL talent, and it's taken some time. Not weirdly, Texas has done it in an astronomically fast amount of time compared to what most programs are able to do. But I mean, it's still years plural and not month, day, or year singular.
Yeah. Shout out for the Cookie Monster reference. Go Tigers 2019. Here's an interesting chat for you, Catch. Text guy says, thought it would be fly high on Rogue. Okay, so Catch, this really brings up a question I've never asked you before. Do you get the sense, like, have you ever seen a fly in your house and how it might react to Rogue smoke? Like, can you slow them down with the Rogue smoke?
Well, I always just kind of lean on the fact that they'll eventually fly into the glass and die that way.
Okay. So the Rogue just helps you hunt the flies.
Now it just feels like the fly. Is the fly on my head?
No.
It feels like it. Now I'm doing that thing. Have you ever known anybody that's ever had bed bugs? After they have bed bugs, I've known people that for the rest of their lives always think they're being eaten by bugs.
Right. Yeah. That's got to be a tough thing.
I am acting like one of those people. Now there's just a fly on my head. It also could be the Rogue that has me feeling like there's a fly on my head when there's not. That happens too. It's a great thing about Rogue. It can eliminate flies in theory, or eliminate you focusing on the flies, or potentially focusing too much on the flies. It's just a weird balance. The bottom line is pain, anxiety, sleeplessness. There's so many reasons we all suffer. We deal with stuff, right? This helps deal with stuff. I have an uncle who puts the salve on his joints and it makes him feel better. It's better than Ben Gay. No offense to Ben Gay. Don't even mean to give him a shout out, but I don't even know what any of the other ointments are called. It's better than anxiety medicine. Like, it's just, this is natural. It's just Texas is home for legal CBD, THC, and so much more. Scan that QR code, get to shop and use Orange Bloods to get your discount as the promo code and get to work on it today while you can. Screw the Texas legislature.
I'm so proud of myself for the way we got into that. Well done. Thank you to the chatter who helped us do that. I take sick pride in stuff like that. Oh, look at this. Another Jay Lee super chat. We don't know what we would do, Jay, without your super chats. Thank you, brother. $5. My brother has the best video ever. It's of a frog in his backyard sitting in front of a piece of dog poop, just eating fly after fly after fly. That's a smart frog.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
And Jay, I'm glad that you asked that question just the way you did, with all kinds of words misspelled. Good. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm just confused. Brian Jones comes on this show and you beg him to curse. And Jay Lee gave us $5.
Mm-hmm.
And you wouldn't just say shit, you had to say poop?
I guess that did happen, yeah.
Just have some self-awareness about the fact that Jay might have wanted that read just the way that it was written, which
Okay.
at which case you would have just said dog shit.
It's like he started going back.
See, you did that thing where you didn't go literal. You ad-libbed it. You were like, I mean, put my Chad Hastings pizzazz on it.
My bad.
Reread it.
Jay, reread. Super chat, $5 from the great Jay Lee. And I'll even try, since you didn't really use capitals, we'll just try to, here we go. My brother has the best video ever. It's of a frog in his backyard sitting in front of a piece of dog eating fly after fly after fly.
See, that's all I'm asking for, Chad. And when you don't do it like that,
all right,
you're robbing Jay Lee of what his $5 was asking for.
I am sorry. I like that is the part of the chat that Jay just kind of rushed. He rushed that part.
He said he didn't want to spell it.
But back to the initial point.
And then he spelled it.
He didn't want to spell it. What do you want me to do? He didn't want me to spell it.
And to be fair, look, he's just being considerate. And you know what, Jay Lee? I don't think I knew that either.
Yeah. And time to time, and obviously Brian coming on the show is a very special occurrence, but from time to time, we've had discussions about, do we want to swear here? Do we want to swear there? And I thought I would stay away from it that one time, but what are you going to do?
Jay, man, I still watch these soccer shows on YouTube where they have like 500, they have like 2.5 million subscribers, and there's like 100,000 page views on the videos. And those dudes say the F word like we say y'all.
Yeah, that's fair. And Jay, I didn't know if cuss word in super chat was against the rules. I don't believe it's against the rules, Jay. And if you type it and you pay for it, just about anything we will say. There are things that we won't, but
sometimes we'll say it in voices.
Basic stuff like that. We'll let you have that one. We will let
you know what we should do?
What's that?
We should have people send their chats overnight. Mm-hmm. And then we can send I once got some audio work done by a British lady. You can just pay her like $25 mm-hmm. and she'll read some shit for you. And we could have the super chats be read in the voice of like Bridget Jones.
Oh, wow. Sitting in front of a piece of dog shit. Yeah, that would be right. That would be fun. We can't, the key is not to bury we buried the lead on Jay Lee's super chat. I just like
the frog sitting in front of the poop.
That his brother encountered a super intelligent frog that had the plan of all plans.
That frog was scouting the dog. Oh, here it comes. Its backside is it looks like it's about to go. I'm coming, dog. I'm right behind you.
Oh my God. That may be the smartest dog,
smartest
frog ever. Yeah, the dog may not be smart, but the frog is.
There's no way that dog's smarter than the frog that knew. Jackpot, baby.
Yeah, that is fantastic.
You
All
think they
right.
knowledge on from frog family to frog family, or was this a super frog? Like, how do you interpret that? I think super frog.
Yeah, I mean, you'd want to look for reading glasses there and like a clipboard. But yeah, I think it's an exceptional frog, a super exceptional frog.
I remember back in the day when I would watch Dennis the Menace, the old 50s show on Nickelodeon.
Mm-hmm.
Dennis had a depressed frog. It turned out the frog was in love with another frog. And when the frog jumping competition came aboard, the frog didn't want to jump because it had been separated from its love. So they gave the frog a shot of B12.
Nice. Did it work?
Well, what they didn't know was that they brought the frog that the other frog was in love with to the frog jumping contest.
Mm-hmm.
And that frog jumped. And Dennis won the competition. But, they gave the frog a shot of B12. At least that's what they said. Like, think about that.
That's bizarre. All right.
Because, they wanted to give him energy. They wanted to give that frog a shot of B12 to send him to the moon.
Oh, my God. Thanks to 600 of you that are in the Specs chat. By the way, I don't know if they have B12 at Specs. That might be the only thing they don't.
Was better than the B12 frog in the Dennis the Menace episode.
Yeah, that frog is better than that. You're right. Yeah, outside of B12, I think Specs has just about everything else you'd need. Here's Lisa and the crew.
Shop Specs! 60 years in the Lone Star State. A one-stop shop so you're never late. Price is so low that you want to know
which way to Specs.
Come on, let's go.
Specs, fine spirits, and finer foods. World-class service, that's all about you. Shop Specs!
It's how we do. A huge selection since 62.
Shop Specs!
Low priced, amazing. Here's to you. Cheers to savings.
All righty. If you want to throw in a super chat, it'll go right to the top of the list. We'll get some buy or sell here in a sec. Catch, there was only one other name I wanted to ask you about off the list of recruits for the weekend. I also think we need to maybe mention Jonah Williams because it was a nice update from Anwar on Orange Bloods this week. Hey, by the way, see the upper left corner? Join OB today. See that? There's a QR code up there. Hit it. Get signed up. Easiest way to get signed up with orangebloods.com, and the perfect weekend going into this big recruiting weekend to do that. So we appreciate you if you do that. But catch Chase Calicut, the safety out of North Shore, I believe is coming in for an official this week. I think he was I think he and Turn Time both went to Michigan last weekend. I see him rated as number 4 safety in the country. How big a deal is this guy for you if Texas were able to make him a part of the class?
I mean, to me, he's a really talented player. He's not a super blue chip for me, but he's not far away from that.
Okay.
And, to me, again, he's just these guys now are all just pieces of talent that I'm less concerned about who specifically you get and more specifically with just get talent.
Yeah. Is his talent such that you think he could make his way into super blue chip territory by the time the whole cycle runs through?
Essentially, yeah. He's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's close enough that that's certainly within the realm of possibilities. I would say anybody who's a state top 25 type prospect is somebody that's in the conversation. There's something. Sometimes that's where I'll stash a player that I love that might be a little bit of a tweener, like a player that I love. And it's like, well, you got to ding him a little bit, or maybe there's he's in that position for me where there's like one thing or a slight thing that's probably keeping him away from that kind of territory. And those things get answered sometimes, and you change your mind and you end up thinking, oh yeah, no, that guy is that dude. And I'll give you an example of a guy that was for me historically, Cedric Benson.
Wow. Okay.
I thought, first of all, Texas did not have Cedric Benson as their number 1 rated in-state running back in 2001 originally.
Okay.
They had, I think it's Anthony Johnson. I'm trying to remember who else was in that class. I I don't know. I thought said was slow. Like I thought old man, West Texas football, blood and guts. I wasn't entirely convinced. And I didn't think he was a bum. I kind of had him like top 10 in the state, but not at an elite level. And then I went and saw his first game of his senior season. I think it was at the Alamo Dome. And it was like, oh, okay. he's that dude. And then, then forevermore, nobody ever even calls. That's what I always say, man. The only thing that matters are the final rankings. Because I remember I was slow on Jamal Charles. If you can believe it, I had a question of Jamal Charles's speed. First time I watched a film of him, he was so fast that it looked like he wasn't even trying. So it was like, how fast is he? He's always running just fast enough to be faster than the other guys on the film. And sometimes it's hard when guys are so fast, they never get out of second gear because they're always faster than everybody else. And then he ran track as a junior, and it was like, oh, well, I'm stupid. Never mind.
Yeah.
He is elite, the elite. But, I ask questions. I ask questions of Quinn Ewers, and sometimes your questions turn out to be right. Sometimes you ask questions and you end up learning things that answer those questions that you didn't know before. So, yeah, I mean, that's a long way of answering the question. But, yeah, he's definitely got a chance to be that kind of guy. And I would say that Cody Carpentier, he and Alex already, or at least Cody does, thinks of him in that vein.
Yep. By the way, Catch, don't feel bad. You missed out on Jamal Charles. Not the only one that was a little bit late on Jamal Charles. People say you weren't. You weren't. Don't worry. A lot of people.
Real quick, Cody. Speaking of Cody, sometimes it's not the F word that they say a lot that sounds exactly the way we say it. It's the C word.
Oh, yeah.
And they say that word in abundance.
Yeah, they like that word a lot.
It just reminds you that, oh, it's just different here than it is everywhere else in the world. And yeah, man, if you listen to European soccer shows, especially in the UK, it doesn't matter what team you're following. You're going to hear that word.
Yeah. Cody, thank you for the chat as
Sometimes
always.
people don't believe me. Like my wife at first didn't believe me because I said it once and she's, whoa. Did you just say the C word? And I was like, yeah, but you have to understand
You blame soccer.
I hear that word 100 times a day now.
That's one
and
of the official.
It doesn't mean the way it's meant in the, they say it like a clown or any number of things. It's an all-purpose word for them, quite frankly.
You don't even get a yellow card for that word in soccer.
No. So
they call officials that when they shake their hand at the beginning of the game. Like they say.
I'm just telling you, it's wild. It's wild.
Yeah. Any other names coming in this weekend, Catch, that you want to throw out?
No, we're good. I think we've focused on the main thing. And look, I don't even think we need to really have the Jonah Williams conversation right now. He looks great in practice. He looks like a 5-star. Duh. Like that's what my expectations are for him, is that the day he shows up, he looks like one of the best athletes, best players on the team, because that's what it means to be a 5-star. And he's one of the best players I've ever seen at the high school level in the state of Texas. He's that talented. So, yeah, no, like, guess what? He showed up at workouts. He's impressing. We can move on.
My only question for you on him is he a safety for you, or are you leaving the idea open? He could be anywhere in the defensive backfield.
I mean, he's not going to play corner.
Okay.
But I think he can play either safety spot. I think he could potentially play some nickel. Jelani McDonald style. I think he's a guy that, God, if he were to get too much bigger, you could see him spin down to linebacker. I think he's a better souped up version of Drew Kelson. If you want to go back that far, when you want to think of kind of a linebacker safety tweener.
Yeah.
He's so much more dynamic. And I love Drew Kelson. I had Drew Kelson rated as a borderline 5-star back in the day. I had him rated as a top 5 prospect in the state of Texas. And obviously I ended up being wrong. He ended up not being that good, but he was always super talented. And it was like, where does he play? This guy's just on a way different playing level. He is I don't know who to even compare him to recently. I think Travis Hunter type comparisons aren't apple to apple, but he's like that. He is. Someone made a joke earlier this week when the update came out. Does he play running back? Right, making fun of the KJ Edwards situation, and I was like, well, he could. Like, that's how good. That's what he is. He is. When DJ Williams came out in 2000, or TJ Duckett, or some of these Travis Hunter, these guys that come out and they could literally be an All-American on either side of the ball. I think Jonah Williams could do that at the college level. He is truly a special, special talent.
Interesting. Real quick, Michelle threw in this one: kickoff, punt return.
I let him do whatever you got to do to get him on the field.
Yep. Okay.
And so, yes.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
If there's a question, hey, we can't figure out this special teams return. Say no more.
Yep.
Put the kid back there.
All right, Catch, I'll leave it up to you. I have a series of chats from Cody Carpentier about his love of the C word. Would you like to hear them?
No, I read them.
You read them? You're good.
I'm good.
Okay. All right. Cody, I was about to put them all on the screen. It's not going to happen, though. Sorry, my bad. But I gave him a chance. I gave him a chance. All right. Before we buy or sell, let me hit you with one more image.
I love that Cody had so much thought, though, on that.
He did. It was good. I just made one.
Inspire him going into football with friends.
Since you're a fan of the word, I just wanted to make sure that you saw another fan.
I didn't say I was a fan of the word. I said I hear it a lot.
Sorry, you're exposed to the word a lot. I thought maybe you'd want to hear from a fan of the word, because clearly Cody is a fan of the word.
I'm not saying anything else, Chad.
Check out the chat for more on that. And check out the Deep Eddy Vodka tasting room for more vodka, great cocktails. Oh, I'm so excited because last night my wife and I had dinner with our friend Sherry, and Sherry has a birthday in August. Sherry is usually the reason. If we don't get out there for anything else, we do get out to Deep Eddy Vodka for her birthday because she loves to go out there and do a tasting or just have some of the great cocktails. So we're trying to plan that and get it together. I'm very excited for that. Also, they've got great barbecue out there. So we always make sure to hit a little bit of that. You're going to have a good time. Make sure you do it safely. Go have don't have all these cocktails. That would not be safe. Go try some cocktails, have a tasting, grab yourself maybe a bottle of Deep Eddy vodka. Maybe you need some merch or some vodka. They got 9 flavors now. That pineapple is out there. So tell them you heard about it here on Orange Bloods Live. I'm talking to you on a Friday, and they are 11 to 7 on Fridays and Saturdays. The hours are up there in the upper left for you. Check out the Deep Eddy Vodka tasting room. Yes, sir.
Gotta go.
Gotta go. We're done. No buy or sell?
No buy or sell today. I gotta go.
All right, man.
You want to sign us off?
I'll do it. All right. Thank y'all for liking, subscribing, getting your notifications. Have a great weekend. And there you go. Have a great weekend. Be safe. We didn't have time for buy or sell. We'll talk to you on Monday. And Catch mentioned Football with Friends. Check out all the other good content. Football with Friends, Old Fashioned, all the different stuff. If you don't find it on the live tab, make sure to look on the video tab. Like, subscribe, get your notifications. Thank you guys for jumping in. Y'all have a great